Tools. Oh, tools. I'm not going to get into the details of them, but I'm going to get you into the mindset of what you need to be thinking of as you start to research all the stuff you need. Let's talk about it. Roll it. Welcome back to another video. My name is Nikos. This is mentorsapproach.com. We strive to make a video each and every week to get you thinking and moving in the right direction. So hit subscribe. Today we're talking about the idea of technology and what do you need as you start to move online so you can get your presence out there to the world and start making that awesome money. Awareness is critical. And often is the case, people will say, hey, what do I need? I need a good camera. And they go and they spend a lot of money on a camera. Notice how I didn't say invest. This is the critical aspect. Now, spending versus investing. Investing means you're going to get a return on that investment. Where spending means you're just wasting it. And it's incredibly critical to understand this idea when you're looking at equipment, when you're trying to do stuff online. Now, in the last few videos, which I'll link below, we talked about the idea of how you're going to move forward into the planning of what you need to be doing and how that's going to shape up and look so that you know that you're going to get to the stage and you're not going to be spending money that you don't need to spend. All too often, we will either meet people that will have bought cameras already and they can't edit and they can't do this or that, or they're just kind of spending their time on nothingness. Nothing looks good. And they go, well, I already spent this money on this gear. And it's like, well, you still have to pay us to do stuff. And other times we meet people, we start doing the work and then they go and they spend money that they didn't need to spend. And then they go, well, can we use this camera? I'm going to start doing this, this, and this. And it's like, for what? Like, what are you going to do with that? Like, what's the game plan? I'm not going to sit there and charge you money so I can go through all your footage, so I can get some gems out of your footage, so I can actually make a video out of it. You need to sit down and really think about that. Or are you going to edit your own videos while we do all these other videos? Is that the game plan? And do you really think you needed all this when you had this so you can do everything else that you could be doing on your own? All right? There's a lot of confusion on this thought process. So, where do we begin? Step one is understanding your plan and figuring out exactly what you're going to be doing with your ads. Figuring out how you're going to be making all your content. Figuring out how the ads and the content relate. And then figuring out how that's going to translate to the flow onto your website and then from your website into a sale. This is number one. You need to know that. Secondly, you need to know how much time, energy, money you're willing to put into this. Do you need to hire somebody or do you want to buy equipment? Do you want to have this stuff and do you want to do it on your own? Hire maybe just an editor so you don't spend your money doing all that? What are the different factors there? Once you have that concrete and you understand 100% what you're going to be doing with that, now it's time to look at what can we invest in? What can we be buying? I don't recommend people go buy the most expensive stuff. I used to work with somebody, and we would be working on with a client, and we'd be talking with the client on what they should be buying, and all of a sudden, they would recommend the client buy some expensive Sony, some expensive gear, and it was like, what are you doing? Why did that person just spend $4,000 on a camera they didn't need? Now they're not going to be able to spend their time, energy, money effectively because they've spent it on a camera, they went and got some lights, and now they're going to be like, well, I want to just film this stuff, but I don't know what to do with it because they have to learn how to use the thing. Oh, it's okay, we'll teach them. Oh, okay. How did that work out? This is something that we see all the time with other companies. This is all the stuff that we see. We've seen it with us. And I always tell, whenever I work with people, I always tell them, just stop. Let's just get moving, and then we'll introduce different things, and we'll get you going. Because at the end of the day, this cell phone will do a lot. Okay? So your idea here now becomes on the tool sets is looking at it and saying, what can I do with my phone first? You can do a lot with it. This one shoots 4K or whatever, and then the new ones are shooting 8K. You'll never need it, but hey, okay? and you look at it and you go, what can I do with this? Because at the end of the day, you don't need to go buy the world's technology. You don't need a fancy lens yet. You don't need all that. You want to first learn the aspects of the tools, and then from the tools, how does that look on editing video? Because we need to learn the video editing, and this is incredible aspects of it that people get challenged with, and then they stop doing anything. So first things first, let's see what we can do with the phone. Maybe buy a stand for the phone, okay? And what we need, that's most important, are two things. Before you focus on the camera, it is the mic that you're gonna be using, and of course, the lights. Let's focus on those two things, and let's go through those two things, okay? You need a good source of light, so buy something that isn't really expensive, but is within a good budget, right? That's it. Notice how we're not jumping in a total budget. We're just looking at it and saying, what's a good budget? 100, 200, 300 bucks. Light that's going to light your face so you can do the things that you need to do for any kind of work you're trying to do. Now, if you're going to go all fancy, we're going to have to talk about a different scenario for that. But a good 200, 300 bucks is easy for any business to get moving. And then a mic. Go for a good Rode mic. You're good to go. Spend the 200, 300 bucks. You're good to go. Now you got something going for yourself. Along with the camera on the phone, we got something. Notice how this budget isn't this big, okay? We now look at it and say, okay, I'm gonna film this stuff. What can I use to edit? Am I gonna use my phone and the apps in there? Or am I gonna use the computer and find some video software on there? And you look for whatever system you have. You look for the free ones first, start playing around with them, and then start moving into Premiere Pro and everything. It's expensive. It's like 50 bucks a month, 40, whatever deal you can get, okay? And we look at it and we say, okay, what are the steps in this? It's a learning curve now. And then let's look at what camera to buy. And if you are looking for a camera and you're like, I'm set, I want to buy a camera right now, and I want to move into that level, well, don't buy anything expensive. Start with something small, like a T7i. This Canon T7i, you can buy used for like 400 bucks, 500 bucks. They're going for about $800. At that point, you might as well just buy the Canon the Canon RP, and you're good to go. You just need 1080p, okay? There are other cameras, 1080p. If you can shoot in 1080p, you're good to go. I recommend Canons for most people on the cheap side because they are cheaper when you look at some stuff like this for what we're doing online. And at the same time, what are you getting out of it? Well, you're literally getting the opportunity to upgrade down the road because you can just go buy a good lens and you're off to the races. Buy a good 24 millimeter, you're good to go. 35 millimeters, that's good too. You can go for a 50 millimeter like this. This is a 50 millimeter, and this one is like awesome. 100 bucks. You get that nice flashy bokeh in the back. Perfect. And we're off to the races. So my idea here really becomes, how do we look at it in terms of step-by-step approach so that you can get into it slowly so you don't discourage yourself, A. B, you don't spend a lot of money. Now, I'm going to be going in more technical stuff on my other channel, on cameras, on lights, on everything. I'm going to be going into a whole series on all of that. And I'll also include in the courses that I'm creating so that you guys have a step-by-step approach if this is what you need. This is more for the mindset of thinking about what to do. I want to change the opinion of people that are going out and spending so much money on stuff that ends up they're not even using them. Those lights in the back, I paid $400. Those were my first lights. I still use them, but I should have never bought those. These flat panels just made my face, made it off, and I should have went and I just spent the money on the gear that I have now and spent the $200-300 instead of $400 for two lights. I went for a little bit cheaper, and it just, long story short, again, I spent money that I didn't need to spend. So mindset, walk through the steps, make sure you're buying based on that plan, and you won't go wrong. My name is Nikos Rentas. This is mentorsapproach.com. Hit that like button if you like what you see. Of course, hit the subscribe button. Leave a comment below. Leave your story about buying equipment. You spent a lot of money that you didn't need to spend? Because who knows? Somebody might be watching this. They might read your comment. They might relate. You might help change a life.